the Casey Laboratory, presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our amazing partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. Ken Swanson here with still cleanly shaven Maddie Lane. Got like a hint of, I don't know, like there's like a little hint of Timothy Chalamet going with the hair right now. Just a little hit. You got a little hair falling over your face, just a little bit of your head. You know, just I don't know, man. I don't know what the vibe is, but it's I don't know. I'm still getting used to it. By the time I get used to it, you're gonna have facial hair again.
Well, it's like a post-lunch shadow, right? That's the kind of facial hair we got going on here. It's like we are not even making it to 5 o'clock yet. This is gonna take a minute to come back. That's okay. You know, we appreciate everybody who watched us do the live draft coverage and that donated to the Therese Paler Foundation. You guys are the best, and I will happily do this every single year, even if Kent tries to make fun of me after because he backs out because he has pictures that he has to do.
Yeah, I will. If we don't have any family vacays that my wife's dying to get photos of, I'd love to be in a mustache right now. I actually had a pretty big meeting this week. So maybe I am glad that I had facial hair for that one.
That's why I had to go clean shaven because we were, just having like an interview and a meeting with like a new school and stuff like that. And I was not allowed to go into it with just a mustache. Apparently, apparently sends the wrong message off the rip. So I had to go clean shaven, which is as a worse look.
It feels like every May you've got something pretty important. Around this time every year, you've got something pretty important you've got to do, like meet new neighbors.
And yet still I go with the mustache, and you somehow got out of it.
Look, I want to keep my wife happy here. Although I'm telling you, this mustache is coming in strong. Like, I feel like, I feel like I could rock one right now. I'd feel really good about it, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, maybe I'll shave down to a mustache just like 2 weeks late,
Perfect.
Maybe I'll do it when I get back after the photos. Probably. I think that'd be like a fair trade or something like that.
Like a summer mustache, a Memorial Day mustache.
We'll see what I can get away with. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We've been meaning to talk about this. We wanted to kind of go over, I think we might have done this last year. I think I at least wrote about this at one point, but it's always exciting to get through this rookie class and to get eyes on them and dream and wish about, what this group could look like and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's fun. And I genuinely believe that there are talents and qualities from all of these draft picks that give them a shot to be meaningful contributors on this football team. But I think it's also important to set expectations about what all these players will or can, or what should be expected of them. I think, in year one, right?
I think expectations is a perfect way to start this. I think expectations are exactly how we should start this. The Chiefs have announced their rookie jersey numbers as of today. Now, okay, peek behind the curtain. We're pre-recording this because Kent is on vacation. So if we don't interact with the chat and stuff like that, it's because this has been pre-recorded. So I just want to say that ahead of time. We're not ignoring anybody. It's just we have recorded this beforehand. The jersey numbers are announced for the rookies. Okay, I need you to power rank them from 1 to 7, and I will read them off because we couldn't get the visual aid in time. Josh Simmons, number 71. Omar Norman Lott, number 55. Ashton Gelotti, aka Big Lotto, 97. Then we went with Noel Williams, number 20, Jalen Royals, number 11, Jeffrey Bassa, number 31, and Bashard Smith, number 30. I need a power ranking of 1 to 7 on those jersey numbers.
Okay. I think this is tough. All right, I think I'm going to rank it Noel at the top. Number 20 is a clean number at the cornerback position.
I like that. That was in my second tier. I think I put that as number 3, but I could easily see it as number 2.
I love Jalen Royals in number 11. That
was my number 1.
I think that's a crispy look for the young man. I will go. You're probably gonna hate me for this one. I love Omar Norman Lott wearing 55. Okay. I think I know that was his number in college, but I think that's a clean number there. Simmons 71, also up there.
Okay.
Okay, so who we got left? You
need Ashton Gelotti at 97. You got Jeffrey Bassa at 30. 31, and you got Brashard Smith at 30.
Okay. All right, you're gonna hate this.
Uh-oh.
Boss at 31 is next. I like it. I think it's fun. I like the funness of it. We got 31 and 32 with the linebacking core. I think that's fun. Then you got to give me Ashton Gelotti at 97. And then I think Brashard Smith at 30. I think 30 is a pretty boring running back number personally.
Okay, so I don't disagree about Brashard Smith. I think it's a fine running back number, but it's for a bruiser. 30 is definitely a number you put on your between the tackles, like goal line runner, right? Like that's not a Brashard Smith number. So hopefully it's like a rookie camp like placeholder. Hopefully, don't love that one. That would be my second to last. I was doing it. Jeffrey Boss is my last 31 on a linebacker. That screams you're the target every single play. That you are the target every single play if you wear 31 as a linebacker.
Hold on.
There is zero chance. There is zero chance that you can square up a guard and take on a block. You couldn't square up a fullback if you're wearing number 31. He is a target wearing 31 out there.
I thought 32 that you target in the passing game.
Listen, 31 is a worse number. Okay, I hope that's being changed. That is rough for me. 30 just doesn't fit Brashard Smith. Fine number doesn't fit Brashard Smith. I'm okay with 55. I don't love it on a D tackle. I like it better as a defensive end, but I actually really like the number 55. D Ford looked good in it. Frank Clark looked good in it. 55 is a great number. I just like it better at the end. I like Gelotti's 97 a lot better than you. I think that's a very clean, solid defensive end number for a very solid prospect. I did Noel Williams third. I like 71 for Jeffrey Simmons. Give me offensive linemen in the 70s, not the 50s, every day, all the time. 71, the Mitch Schwartz number. Solid, very good number. And then Jalen Royals 11 is the top. So we're close-ish. Our biggest differences are just you are way higher on Omar Norman Lott, and then the Jeffrey Bossa one. Those are the two I'm a little lower on. Not too bad.
I like a little weird. With some man.
Sky Moore ruined that for me, Kent.
Yeah, I get it. See, I think I liked Sky at 24. I liked that.
Oh, I did too.
Maybe that's
he took a swing. Buddy went up there. He did not choke up on that bat at all. He took the biggest, fullest swing and he missed, and that kind of ruins it. So like Matthew Goldenrock in 22 in Green Bay, buddy, you got your odds stacked against you right now.
So we know numbers. Now we need to talk about roles.
Perfect. I mean, numbers are more important if we're setting expectations.
That's true. And now that we have the numbers, I think we can appropriately set these expectations too. So number 71, Josh Simmons. Not Jeffrey Simmons. Josh Simmons. Number 71 for the Kansas City Chiefs. When you're trying to set a realistic expectation of what you think Josh Simmons' role is going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025. Yeah. What are you thinking, Matthew?
Tricky. He's obviously tricky because you have to deal with the health aspect of it. Now, according to all of the reports and the rumors, he is on pace to be ready by training camp. And now I don't know if that means he's going to be able to be up to speed or if that's really he's starting his offseason then. We just don't know, right? So I guess I got to look at it two ways. My expectations of what I realistically think that he is going to do as a rookie is probably not a lot to start the year. I think he comes in and would take over if you get halfway through the season and left tackle is struggling. I think that's the most likely route for Josh Simmons to play as a rookie at the left tackle, as if Jalen Moore goes out there and isn't this substantial improvement over what the Chiefs had last year, then that is when I would expect Simmons to get a step in, just because I don't know if you can expect a rookie coming off of a major injury who, while he might be ready for training camp, we don't know what that means in terms of being ready. Then he might just be getting back to doing full on 110% effort drills and stuff like that. So I think it would be pretty unfair to set the expectation any higher than him maybe earning a starting job halfway or later throughout the season.
I think it's tricky when you also consider that he's not going to have the luxury of a full off season. Most likely he's not going to have the luxury of a full training camp. I would guess, like, I think there's a chance you're not even getting the luxury of an entire training camp here either. So that's very tricky for a rookie to come in to play to step into the game speed of the National Football League in earnest, possibly in the middle of the season. And that's just a big challenge. Now, does he have the talent to do it? Absolutely. And he could very quickly be the best option for the Chiefs at the left tackle spot. But I think you framed it appropriately. It's like if they're having struggles at tackle, maybe that's when you consider making the switch. I personally don't want the Chiefs to get in a big rush with Josh Simmons, right? Like, I don't want them to, go to, like, I really hope that they have a appropriate timeline for him so that he, can be the best version of himself for the next decade. I want that, I want them to have that opportunity to have that left tackle situation secured for the foreseeable future. So if that means that Jalen Moore has to be the tackle in Kansas City in 2025, I'm content with that. And I know some people will be frustrated with the draft capital used to do this, but I don't care, man. I think this is a short and long-term answer. Yes, it could help you soon, potentially, if you need it, but let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's let this guy get back to full strength. Let's let him be the best version of himself and give him time to acclimate to the National Football League, because that is a difficult transition for him to make. So I'm with you. Let's pace ourselves a little bit here, folks.
Now, okay, so I think we both agree with that, right? There should be no expectation that Josh Simmons is going to start week 1. There should be no expectation that he is even going to straight up take the starting job at any point in time this year. The expectation should be Jalen Moore kind of has to lose it based on what has happened, based on what we don't know about the health, right? I think that's fine for your expectation. Now, let's say he does have to play, or whether that's because he's ahead of schedule and he progresses just fine and he's able to just outright win the job, or Jalen Moore does struggle and they need somebody else to step in there. What would our expectations be if he is forced to play at some point in time this rookie year? Here's the thing. I did my film room on the KCS and Discord on Josh Simmons today. All right, so you can check that out on the Discord. Go to the film room channel if you are subscribed to kcsn.com. You can see all the film rooms there, but Josh Simmons is up. Spoiler, he's really good at football. I mean, I don't want to spoil everything that's in there if you haven't watched it yet, over the weekend or anything, but he's really good, guys. And it's different than watching any of the other draft picks the Chiefs have taken off offensive tackle. It's different than watching Orlando Brown. It's different than watching Donovan Smith. It's different than watching Eric Fisher, because with all these guys, you're looking at stuff and you're going, okay, even the players that really excelled, Orlando Brown Jr., Donovan Smith in spurts, Eric Fisher, you're saying, okay, here's what they do really well. Here's where they struggle, and here's how they get around that. Even with Fisher, it's hey, he's a super athlete, so he is able to deal with this deficiency in his hand technique or his footwork. Or with Orlando Brown, it's yeah, he might be a little slower with his footwork, but guess what? He's really long, and he's a big, wide body to make guys go around him. There was okay, this is where the struggle is, and this is how he makes up for it. With Josh Simmons, especially as a pass protector, he's not having to make up for anything. His footwork is phenomenal. His strength is phenomenal. His hand usage, his hand technique is great. There's a play against Michigan State that I highlighted there. A guy tries to dip and bend around the edge. Josh Simmons is dropping. He's digging him out underneath his waist. Below his waist, he is getting his outside hand on this player's chest and still moving his feet. He is moving his feet, blocking somebody below his waist and still running up the arc. You just don't do that. And I think just struggle at the NFL level, right? So if he has to play, I have a lot of confidence that he will at least be fine. Yes, there will be some moments where he's got to adjust the NFL, being able to take advantage of some, he likes to circle punch with his hands, which opens up your chest if a guy times it right. He's a little willing to try to control everything with just his inside. There will be some learning curves, but there is nothing I see out there from him that gives me any pause like there would have been. You can attest to it. With Wanya Morris or even Kingsley last year, I was I don't know if anything there is early. They need a lot. They need work. They need to work on a lot of stuff. Josh Simmons, when he's healthy, I don't know. In pass protection in particular, the run game's similar, but there is some stuff he could fix. He could just try harder to blow guys off the ball. Don't just be content with being in the way. But he doesn't have to fix anything, I think, to be good right away. He's just got to adjust to the NFL speed. And that's just a different world to live in than where the Chiefs have been for a decade now.
It's why we were so excited to see them take this risk and make this investment. And, it's crazy he got to that point. I think in the conversations even having, if the medicals are going to be even halfway decent, worth the swing, just worth the swing, because that talent, that tape was undeniably good. He goes top 10 in this draft. He goes Does he go before Membu? Do we think Josh Simmons plays the whole year, goes before Membu?
If he played the same way he played through those first 6 games or 5.5 games, I think so. Because if he puts out the same tape that he did on those first few games against Penn State and Abdul Carter, and against Oregon again 2 times, and against Tennessee, if he goes up against all those pass rushers and continues to play the way he did, yeah, I think so. And I don't think it's close, because even with Mimbo, and even with Will Campbell, right? You look at those guys, and there are some instances where you say, okay, they're really good, but here's the weakness and here's where they have to make up for it, right? You find those. And there just wasn't that on the tape for Josh Simmons. Now, we're projecting a little bit because he definitely did miss the quote-unquote harder part of his schedule, right? Like, he only got a couple reps against Oregon, going up against, I believe, what's going to be a top 20 draft pick next year before his injury. Unfortunately, he didn't get to play those other teams that we talked about. But like, if he did continue that play across that level of competition, yeah, because again, there's not a single thing in pass protection in particular to poke holes in his game. And even as a run blocker, when my issue is you don't strain hard enough every play, not 0 plays. There's plenty of times where he blows guys off the ball, but there are times when he doesn't think he's going to be the point man on the run, and he just doesn't run his hips through. He just gets lazy and tries to reach and push. And like, okay, that's fine. That's easily fixable. If that's my only issue, that's a top 10 pick in almost any draft class.
He might have been on a trajectory to be drafted by fellow Ohio State Buckeye Mike Vrabel at 4. He might have even gotten to that rarefied air. Like, talent tape was undeniably good. So, I mean, he'd be very connected in that Buckeye locker rooms, or so like he Vrabel would have a pulse there. I'm just saying, like, the talent's that good. That's what the Chiefs got from a talent perspective. It's just a matter of if he can reclaim all of that, and if he reclaims all of that, the Chiefs got an absolute steal in the 2025 NFL draft. We're gonna take a break. No.
You can. Are we doing? Okay, cool. I could interrupt you in time. I wanted to ask. Let's say, and I didn't know we were quite getting over to this point now, so I looked up, if the Chiefs did not take Joshua Simmons, if he was unavailable at this point in time in the draft, where do you think that they were going to go? Right. So like, I was trying to look up like who would take them instead. The Houston Texans traded out, right? Let's just say the Texans took Josh Simmons. Where do the Chiefs go? What is the Chiefs move at that point in time? Like, I was looking at it, and like, there's players available, but if Josh Simmons is off the board, this gets pretty close to what we had like kind of said is like, this might be one of the quote unquote worst case scenarios for the Chiefs at the end of the first round.
So, and that means Dart's still on the board. Do you think? All right, so I think they visited with Travion Henderson for a reason. So like Travion Henderson, I would say JT Tuamaloau out, and then you're gonna hate it. Maybe even Ariante Ursery. Like, it just depends on how aggressive they wanted to get at the tackle spot. Some teams thought Ursery was a tackle. If not, at minimum, he was like a best 5 type guy. And then Henderson, like, they met with Henderson late in the process, and maybe it was like, what happens if we don't, like, what if that was like an alternative? Because like, all those guys went in the next 15 picks or something like that. So I think that's probably it.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that they didn't clear Jihad Campbell, but like, I think he would have to be in contention because they did take a linebacker that was clearly the best player available to trade up. Now, that's different in round 1 versus round 5, but like, I think that at least puts that on the board. My pushback for Travion Henderson is, I don't know if you go from looking at a guy in round 1 to happily waiting until the end of the draft to take a running back. If like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it's all player dependent. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that today. It's like the board didn't really fall great if not for Josh Simmons for the Chiefs. Donovan Ezeraku, they went, Gelotti's he's thicker. He plays the run better, but both guys aren't exactly Steve Spagnuolo fits, but they both play with a lot of effort, with a lot of energy. So like, if they were looking for a true defensive end, like as a rusher, he might be a guy they would consider. He ended up going almost a full round later, but he went off the board before they picked. I don't know what their thoughts were on Mike Green's off field. I wonder if he was a guy that they would have considered as well there if they checked out. I don't know. The board wasn't great for them without Josh Simmons. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I was thinking, I was like, wow, I think we lost everybody we wanted them to really take there.
Yeah, you know what? I want to talk about taking a break. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Bryan Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Bryan Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner impossible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks flex plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competitor, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
What if they just drafted Carson Schweschinger? How would you feel if that was the pick at 32?
Not my favorite pick. Not the worst, but also not my favorite pick. I mean, like at that point, we've said a couple guys that I think would have fit. At that point, I mean, just be the Luther Burden team, even though you're clearly okay with another slot type wide receiver. So why not take the better version of the slot type wide receiver in Luther Burden than you ended up taking in Jalen Rosen? That's not a knock. It's just, if you're okay with that archetype, I don't think there's a big difference between what Royals and Burden kind of project to at the next level. So if you're okay with it in round 4 as a fit for your team, why not be okay with it at the end of round 1 for a more talented player?
I think the answer was trade back.
Yeah, no, if like Jackson Dart was still there and
6 or 7 guys that you're into, like,
Sure, you could jump back instead of going back to 32 with Philly, you jump back to 34 with Houston or whatever and still take one of those guys. We said, like, yeah, I think that's the right move. I just was thinking about it before we started. I was like, oh, wow, like after Josh Simmons, if we assume that Mike Green was off a lot of teams' boards or everyone but the Ravens boards for off-field stuff, there wasn't another guy that was like, that's a plus value that the Chiefs, like a plus value the Chiefs could have taken a swing on. So it's just, worked out well.
I'm glad it worked. Yeah, I'm glad they took Josh Simmons. I'm glad they took him. All right, let's move on to day 2. Omar Norman Lotz at pick 63, wearing number 5. Should have wore 63. 5. That's what he should have done. He should have wore his pick number. So should Ashton Gelotti. I think Caliendo has that one though. But anyways, Omar Norman Lotz, what is his role in the 2025 season?
I mean, the Tershawn Wharton role is still up for grabs. I mean, we'll see if like Jerry Tillery is able to snag it as kind of like that, rotational interior guy that's more of a pass rusher that gives you a little bit as a run defender. But I think that role's very much up for grabs. I think the Chiefs see Omar Norman Lott in that light. And I think if you go back to not this last season, but earlier in Tershawn Wharton's career, or even you think back to like Rakeem Nunez-Roches, just like the way those guys played at that time, and just they kind of caused chaos. They just kind of, were Yeah, they were out there to make things funky. They were out there to make things a little messy. That's how I see Norman Lott early on, is just trying to make things a little messy, get Chris Jones a few more one-on-ones because he's occupying a blocker by sprinting into their chest from a gap over, get George, get Gelotti if he's out there, or O'Minihue, or whoever it is, some more one-on-one opportunities by just kind of being a little bit of an agent of chaos rather than a true, we're bringing him in to win one-on-one reps.
Yeah, I'm trying to find Tershawn Wharton's snap counts too, but like that's you kind of what I have him penciled in for too, is that role in some capacity, is being able to, basically do exactly what he did at Tennessee, is be a rotational defensive lineman. I think he played over 25 snaps one time, if I'm correct, in of the 2024 season over at Tennessee. So he really didn't get a ton of burn over there with the Volunteers, and I think 25-ish snaps a game is probably what he looks like in this rotational role, would be my guess. I for his rookie season, I think that's a realistic goal, I think, to set, is somewhere averaging between 20 and 25 snaps a game, and contributing on third downs, and being a guy that wreaks some havoc on the most crucial downs in the passing game.
Yeah, so I'm looking up. Tershawn Wharton played, even from as a rookie up until his injury. He played between 44 and 48% of the snaps, and then the year he was working back from the injury, it was dipped under 40 to about 37%, and then last year it jumped up to 62. So I think we're looking at those first 3 years for kind of Omar Norman Lott, but sub 50% for sure. And even if you remember back to Wharton, then he was never the guy they brought in to win the rep. He was brought in for his energy, his effort, and kind of just to make things a little messy, whether they were going to blitz, run some games, stunts, twists, whatever it may be. He wasn't a guy they were expecting to win. And that didn't happen until this past season. Then it was Wharton has developed into this guy that can actually win some one-on-one. So that will be part of what we do. And if we remember early on in his career, how did he win almost every single rep? Crossing the face of somebody. He would line up in the B gap. He would jump across them to the A gap and take that path, because the center is usually going away from him towards Chris Jones. What is Omar Norman Lott? How does he win most commonly? Crossing the face of a guard, going from one gap, whether it's the B gap or the A gap, to a different gap by crossing the face of his blocker. I see that usage being very similar to Tershawn Wharton early on in his career with the Chiefs. And so, we'll see how it plays out from there. But there's clearly a role for it, and it's more of a setup role. He's the pick setter for your basketball team, not the guy that's isolating up on the elbow.
I like calling him Isaiah Hartenstein, a guy that's not going to score a ton of points, but it's going to just provide a ton of value and efficiency offensively. I see you working. I see exactly there. Just a big Thunder fan, that Matty Lane. All right, Ashton Gelotti, pick 66, wearing number 97. I assume that means Felix Anudike-Uzomah is moving on to a pick. Maybe he's going
more jersey talk. Let's go. Felix is moving to number 91, his collegiate number. Again, another solid number. No complaints there, going from 97 to 91. A change of scenery could help him. I have bad news, though. I have really bad news. I believe that Christian Fulton's number is out, and I really hope it's wrong. Number 8 on a cornerback.
Not great.
Number 8 at...
Did he wear 8 at LSU?
I thought he was 2. So now you're going to make...
I thought he was as well.
There's definitely pictures of him in a 1 and a 22 at LSU. So it's 22 and then 1. So, all right. Here it is, real quick on number 8. It's the softest number in all football for a defensive player. It's the softest number. There's nothing, I can't say anything about it. It is.
Yeah, unless you're a defensive tackle. Unless you're over 320 pounds in a defensive tackle. That's the only reason.
I don't even know. I don't even think. No, I'm sorry. I think if you're a defensive tackle number 22, number 8, your team's destined to have the worst run defense in the league. I think number 8 for a defensive player.
Or your tempo.
True. That is true. And unless Matt Rule's coaching, you probably have the worst run defense in the league. No, number 8 is one of the softest, the softest numbers you can wear as a defender. And I hope that it's not correct. I hope it works out well for him. I really do, because I like Christian Fulton. That was a rough number choice. Okay, anyway.
All right, now Ashton Gelotti, number 97.
Not a soft.
What's the realistic role in 2025 for Ashton Gelotti?
I think people are going to read his scouting reports and then kind of just hear how people talk about his energy and effort and the George Karlaftis comparisons and immediately chalk him up to like early on career impact, kind of like a Mike Dana, where it's a lot of run defense, it's a lot of effort and stuff early on. And I don't think that's the case. I think he's more of early in his career. I think he's a sneaky guy to have a pretty big impact as a situational pass rusher. Actually, I think that's where he's at his best, is when you don't, his lack of length and just like overall body like density shows up in the run more than it does as a pass rusher, in my opinion. Not that he can't defend the run well. It's just that's where I do think his lack of length and stuff shows up more often. So I like him more as a situational pass rusher early on in his career for the Chiefs. And I honestly think with all the other guys we've talked about, the Chris Jones, the Omar Norman Lotz, Karlaftis, Omenihu, all these guys doing these twists, games, stunts, and all the blitzing, he might get a fair amount of one-on-ones. He might get a fair amount of one-on-one reps with tight ends. He might get a fair amount of uncovered rushes, kind of like Karlaftis did as a rookie. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him come away with his rookie year with like 4.5, 5.5 sacks just as a situational pass rusher.
I unequivocally agree. And I think Ashton Gelotti, I think the thing that's important to caveat though is like, I do think Ashton Gelotti can slip into a role that's much more expanded over the course of his career, right? So he starts as a situational pass rusher in this kind of situation, but I think long-term, like he is a Mike Dana replacement and a legitimate guy that can help you against the run and do some good things against the run, has the density in the good explosive numbers and the power to be able to play extended snaps, to play, on rundowns and also provide you some juice rushing. But I think you're right in that, like, a good baseline for him to start would be rush first and then expanding the role from there. And I think this team needs it because, like, I don't think they want to go running this thing back the exact same way that they did it with the pass rush last year. And I mean, they're moving on from Turk Wharton. They got to replace that anyway, but like they need to get some juice there. And I think, the two guys that they drafted in round 2 both provide the juice. They both bring the juice. They both have it. So, no, I'm with you. Like, I think that's a logical place for him to start kind of his career out, is just kind of, being a rotational rusher and then just kind of expanding from there. And I think it fits great. Like, I think you look at the pieces together. I think that they all can fit nicely in that pass rush together. And you look at that, building around Chris Jones and a couple guys with good effort, good energy, and a little bit more juice. Like I said, like I think Ashton Gelotti's like, maybe he is the closest thing to like a situational pass rusher that Steve Spagnuolo has. And I don't mean that that's all he's going to be. I just mean that like he's got a little bit more ability up the arc than just about everybody else on this football team. But he also has the density to be a Steve Spagnuolo edge, with the early down ability down the road. All right, Noel Williams, number 20 in our hearts, number 85 on the draft board. What is his role in 2025?
This is I don't even think it's tricky. I think Noel Williams is going to be a special teamer and a depth corner in the 2025 season that probably only really competes for playing time if there's multiple injuries. I think it would even be a little bit of a long shot to say he is going to jump a Joshua Williams, a Najee Johnson, any other corner we can name, even if Jalen Watson or Christian Fulton get hurt. I think the Chiefs starting 3 corners are kind of locked in, and I have a hard time thinking a rookie is going to immediately come in over everybody else that they have. So I would be kind of surprised to see him get a lot of defensive snaps in year 1, but that's just because of year 1. There's a lot of space opening up in that room starting next year where he can really start to make his mark.
I could see him jumping Joshua Williams, and I might see him jumping Najee Johnson, depending on what they do with Najee Johnson there. But I do think the primary role for Noel Williams will be a lot of special teams. You're right. Like I think that's a good place for him to start. And it's going to be a learning curve. It always is, and it's also going to be a challenge because it is a pretty deep room with a lot of guys playing for contracts, a lot of guys that have built some trust or built some experience here in Kansas City. And that is a little bit tricky to overcome, but this positions the Chiefs well for 2025 or 2026 because now they're going to have 3 cornerbacks at least under contract before the season even starts with Christian Fulton, Trent McDuffie, and Noel Williams in 2026. Like I think that sets up well nicely for them. I don't think it's a failure to say that. I don't think it's a failure if that's what Noel Williams projects to. Now, hopefully, he just exceeds all that and he's able to climb up the depth chart significantly. But I think he's a long-term play that gives you guys, gives the Chiefs a better bridge moving forward. Because they're going to need bodies, and you don't know what Christian Fulton's situation is going to be a year from now, from a health perspective, from a performance perspective too. They've given themselves a lot of quality swings at the cornerback position to where they have enough flexibility to move Trent McDuffie around, and I think that's important to them, and I think that's why they've insulated themselves very nicely in the cornerback room, and they've insulated it to the point where if they do incur some injuries like they did last year, they can still have the flexibility that they want with Trent McDuffie, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, no, and I think that's the big thing is he's definitely an insurance policy if guys do get injured. And yeah, you're right. There is a chance that he could jump a Najee Johnson or a Joshua Williams. I don't mean to say that those guys are locked in above him. I just don't think he starts the year there. Most likely, Spag still does like his vets. He's been a little bit more willing to send out corners early on, oddly enough, versus some other positions. But I mean, I think that they would prefer, to keep the guys that have been around for a little while, especially because you have a safety room that's lost their leader. They don't have that. I mean, I know Mike Edwards is back, but they don't have that veteran leader who's playing almost all the snaps like they've had in the past, going from Matthew to Justin Reed. So I think they would lean on the veterans in that room until they either became unplayable and Noel Williams was clearly better, or they ran out of body. So he's definitely more, in my opinion, of a 2026 kind of swing. What you want is to see him make an impact on special teams, because they do have Najee Johnson's a good special teamer. They bring in Robert Rochelle, who's been a good special teamer. They have some quality special teamers in that room. You would love to see Noel Williams carve out a spot for himself this year there, just to, not that it matters, but just to say, he's kind of about that and willing to do whatever it takes.
All right. Let's kick it to day 3 and pick 133 Jalen Royals, number 11 for the Kansas City Chiefs. What is a realistic role for Jalen Royals? What's Jalen Rolls?
Okay. No. No. I don't think I know. It sounds like, just listening to them talk, they at least see him, I think, in the proper way, in that early in his career, he's more of a Rashee Rice type of player. Maybe that develops into more, but they are immediately calling out his rack ability, the ability with the ball in his hands, getting the ball in his hands, then letting him make plays, and even drawing comparisons to Rashee Rice, which I think is very obvious to make just watching the tape. So I like that they at least see him in where I think is the most clean and easy way for him to transition to the NFL. I just don't know what that role is if Rashee Rice isn't hurt. So if Rashee Rice isn't suspended and is healthy, it seems like it's going to be a little tight to get Royals on the field. Obviously, they will mix and match, where Rice will spend some time outside. Maybe Royals does. There will be plays where Rice is off or you can put them both on the field for sure. But it might be hard for him to find, I think, what you would call a stable role with the way this Chiefs wide receiver room is shaping up right now. Now, Hollywood Brown, not the healthiest individual in all of the NFL. And the way the Chiefs used him last year was a lot of motion stuff. It was a lot of stuff out of stacks, and it was a lot of stuff where he was hidden in the slot and things like that. So maybe if he's the guy that gets hurt, maybe Royals can kind of play in that role. He has good speed. He can win deep if you lose him. I just think that he might need that kind of role catering that we see Rashee Rice or Hollywood Brown get, that he might not have access to if both guys are available.
If I set the over-under on receiving yards for Jalen Royals in 2025 at 250 yards.
Okay. That's a crazy number.
It's a tricky number because, I think it bakes in a lot of the uncertainty here around it, right?
Sure. And, I think that's the trickiest part, is there is a fair amount of uncertainty. Well, I'm trying to see. All right, 250, you say?
Yep.
Now give me the under for. Yeah, I'm going to go the under. I'm just looking back through this, and I don't expect the Chiefs offense to struggle this much, but in 2023, Sky Moore was under that. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was barely over that. Kadarius Toney, I know he got hurt somewhat. He was under that. Even if you add him, you have to add him and McCole. I don't know. Give me the under for that number as a rookie, just because, again, without injuries or guys missing time, I don't know what his direct role is going to be out there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of murkiness. Like I think he's one of the
Juju Smith-Schuster's wins in that same way too.
Juju had 231 yards last year.
Yeah. Like Justin Watson, who's been playing pretty much the most snaps for this team at wide receiver for a while now, or like close to, has like, he had 450, I think, one year, like 300 another. So and I just don't think Royals is going to push for the most. So it's just, I don't know. And they're going to play different positions. I just don't know where volume stats come for him. He's a guy that I think might have a big game here or there, might have a couple big plays that we really like. It's just without injuries to Rice or Hollywood Brown, I do really struggle to find where you are going to slot him in.
All right, what about Jeffrey Bassa, number 31? A sleeper good number for this young player. What's his role if he was wearing number 2, and what's his role if he was wearing number 31?
Look me in the eyes right now and tell me a linebacker who's been good in number 31.
Well, it's new territory, Maddie.
Okay.
It's not been very long. We got time here. Jeffrey Bassa.
Jeffrey Bassa. Where? I think in the back of my mind, I really do think that he's like this year's version, a little bit of Jaden Hicks, where they just said he's falling. We really like this player. We got to get him in here. And if we remember with Hicks, it took until the back half of the year where he started to work in and then he flashed. I could see a similar path for Bassa. I think I like Hicks a little bit better coming into last year's draft as a safety than I like Bassa as a linebacker. And I do think that Hicks is probably a little bit further along in terms of being NFL ready. So maybe you don't get quite the high end flashes, but I think he's a guy that you could see rotate in later in the year because the Chiefs do like to go some random series where they will take Nick Bolton out or they'll take Drew Tranquill out and they'll play with these different guys. And so I think the back half of the year, especially if the Chiefs continue to really struggle with coverage from the linebacker room, and now without Justin Reed having that coverage safety that they can trust over the middle of the field, I could see him, increasing his snaps where he's playing 10, 15 snaps, down the stretch and like these little specific spots. So I think his snap count continues to trend up and he's giving you flashes down the stretch, but it won't be a big player early on, like a big role early on.
Yeah, I think that's right too. Like the back half of the year, kind of like how you started to see an ascension from like a Jaden Hicks. I think that's kind of the, that's the route that this winds up going. So 10, I think 10's about the number for me. I think he gets a series or two at the linebacker spot at the back end of the season. Like that's about what it looks like just from a numbers perspective. Special teams is a huge piece of this though. He's got the kind of frame athleticism to be a quality special teams contributor. It's like he's going to be active on game day every single day. He's going to be playing in that role. Is this I guess might be the best fourth linebacker that the Chiefs have had in a minute, right? I'm trying to think through. I think it feels like it's probably the best one that they've had in a minute since like Leo Chanel was like a linebacker for, I think. So I think, like it's talent enough to justify finding an opportunity and keeping that group fresh and adding legitimate depth in case something happens. We've had a Cam Jones here. And no disrespect to Cam Jones, but Jeffrey Bassa is a much better player at this point than what Cam Jones has brought to the table. So I think, like a small role especially in the back half of the season and then special teams. Brashard Smith, number 30. Not the greatest number for him, for like a guy that's gonna
completely fine running back number. It's not a great like satellite running back number, right? Like number 31 doesn't like run away from somebody. You know what I mean? 30 doesn't run away from somebody. He doesn't make somebody miss. So anyway, Brashard Smith. I don't know. Because you could tell me that the Chiefs immediately see an avenue for him to be a third down back that kind of contributes even like as early on as week 1. Because like Isaiah Pacheco's got another like route running video out right now. And like, I can't. And then Mr. Kareem Hunt is, he's getting long in the tooth. You trust him on third downs. He's a reliable pass catcher, a reliable pass protector, but there's still no juice. And so if it's 3rd and 8 and like, I want my running back to be involved and maybe matter, does he fit that bill? I don't think so. So like there's clearly a path to where I think Brashard Smith could earn a role early on, but then we're talking about an incredibly late round or an incredibly late day 3 pick coming in after only playing running back for 1 year and saying he's going to earn a role quickly. So like, I don't know. I kind of waffle on this one. I don't really know what to think on this.
I know we're excited about him as a player. I think the Chiefs will find a small package to use him offensively. I think return game is a place that he could make a big impact in year 1. And then you let him get comfortable and within the offense. I could see him flexed in the slot a little bit more. Almost like, like this is where we go empty. We're going to put Brashard Smith on the field and go empty, right? Or motion him into the back, or at the backfield. Like, I could see him being used in packages similar to that. And maybe you're getting him a few looks here in the slot, just at an empty. And then, maybe get him a couple carries here. I could see some jets. I could see some jet sweeps with him, but I think it's going to be like a very game specific kind of like, like it's going to be feast or famine with him. It's like either Brashard Smith's in the game plan a little bit or he's not, right? Like, it's like, I think it's going to be very high variance where like week over week, it's not like he's a staple, but there'll be a couple opportunities for him to maybe earn a few snaps here or there for specific plays or specific concepts, and then potentially be a factor in the return game.
Well, and it's tricky because you don't probably trust him in pass pro as a rookie. That wasn't a strong portion of his game. So like, it's not like you can just say, oh no, he's their best third down back, because you don't trust him in pass pro as of yet. And I'm looking back in 2022, Jerick McKinnon had 71 targets as a running back. In 2023, McKinnon had just under 40, but Isaiah Pacheco had nearly 50 targets. Right. And then last year we saw a dip because I know there was injuries, but between Pacheco and Samaje Perine and Mr. Kareem Hunt, they combined for about 70 targets. So like, there's a lot of running back targets to go around. If you're Jerick McKinnon or whoever the third down pass catcher is, you have a role. I mean, Perine, Jerick McKinnon, all those years, when it was Pacheco, that stretch where McKinnon wasn't playing as much, they got snaps and targets. So if he wins that role, and I guess I got to mention Elijah Mitchell, if he is healthy, if he is able to provide a dynamic ability still coming back from all of his injuries, he factors into this conversation as well. So like, it just all depends if he wins that role or not. The role's up for grabs. I just don't know how much faith you can say that this late round draft pick is going to win it for sure. And there's no other path for him to play. Like, right, there's no path for him besides being the third down back, because he's just not that good of a runner yet. He could be, but like, I don't think he's ready for that yet.
So then it's special teams if it's not that, probably. Like, I do think he makes the 53-man roster, and I think he's a returner. And then anything you get outside of a returner in 2025 is a win.
So who's your lead returner? Is it going to be Jalen Royals? Is it going to be Brashard Smith, Noel Williams? Who's your return man? Who's winning that? Is it Nico? Does anybody kick returner to start?
Boy, Nico's got a lot of juice to compete with at the returner spot, man. I mean, between Royals and Brashard, like, is Royals
Noel Williams too? Noel Williams return too.
I think I'd lean the skill guys.
So would I.
I think I'd lean the skill guys that are fast.
Brashard Smith was a very good returner. He led the ACC, I think is how this is bold as Seagulls, led conference. He led the ACC in return yards and kick return average as a junior in 2023 in the ACC.
I think he could be the kick returner, and then I think Royals could be the punt returner potentially.
Okay. So then that just leaves Nico on the outside looking in?
I think so. No, for sure.
Possibly.
I think so. Before we get out of here, want to ask, because, like, we're sitting here assessing the draft. We're looking at the roster as it sits today. Like, what are the big holes that remain for this team? What are the big things that you, if anything, that you'd like to see them address a little bit?
Yeah. How are they stopping the run?
Great question.
Like, I'm legitimately, how are they stopping the run? Mike Pennell and Chris Jones is
Marlon Tuipulotu and
right.
Maybe Levetts and
Chris Jones is very hit or miss against the run. There's splash plays, but there's some negatives. Jerry Tillery's not exactly known as a run stuffer. We talked about Omar Norman Lott plenty. That's not his game. Like, you're relying on some guys that haven't really proven it in the NFL to not only just back up Mike Pennell, but to play a fair amount of snaps, because Derek Nottie still played a fair amount of snaps. Mike Pennell's also getting up there in age. Like, do you need him? Do you want him playing all of your nose tackle snaps? So, like, yeah, what are you what are you doing just how to stop the run, specifically at nose tackle? And I understand it's not the most valuable position. Maybe they are okay with all these younger guys that we're talking about stepping in there. And then the other one, this isn't something they need to go fix, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination. But what's the plan at tight end moving forward? I think it's pretty clear that Kelce is like, this is the final run, right? Like maybe he tries to eke out another year after this, but boy, after the questions this offseason, that seems unlikely. What's the full-on plan next year? Is it just trusting Jared Wiley after coming off an ACL injury? That seems like a pretty big gamble. They've never really given Noah Gray, even when Travis Kelce's being like limited, they've never given Noah Gray a full-on, here's tight end one type of stuff. So just like, what's the plan with tight end moving forward? I guess they'll try to fix it next year, not this year, but I don't know. I was a little surprised they didn't even add anything to that conversation.
It's Kyle Pitts is what it is.
I mean, listen, you don't gotta.
I know. You don't gotta twist your arm. I do you not find it a little bit interesting that the most money they spent on UDFAs was a couple of tight ends that are athletic? Like,
I guess.
I think it's a little bit interesting. Like they're trying to add another body. I think they were hopeful for Jared Wiley, and who knows what he's going to be after the injury. Kyle Pitts would be fun in 2026, though, baby. Just saying, Kyle Pitts 2026 might be the call.
Oh, we were talking returns. We didn't even mention undrafted free agent Elijah Badger, also a fantastic return man, and he is. I mean, an undrafted free agent, but still, he was a fantastic return man in college as well.
So there's your sacrificial X receiver right there. Is Elijah.
Let's go.
Safety too. Like, I mean, they've given Jaden Hicks a lot of runway. They don't address it in the drafts. I mean, there's a couple big namers out there still. Maybe they just see how things go in camp, and then if they don't like it, they add some. Or maybe these are the outside looking in things that, like, the fact that they haven't made a move, and the fact that there's wiggle room to make a little move here or there, and like the fact that they're going to know everything way better than we are. It's at least interesting to say, like, okay, maybe they feel good about Brian Cook coming back out of injury after last year, and like. This year's going to look a lot better second year back from an injury. And then maybe it's like Jaden Hicks is going to be a dude. Like maybe that's how they feel about those guys. And that could be the case. And that's why they haven't, because they think Brian Cook's going to come back strong from his injury in a rookie year or in a contract year. And they love what Jaden Hicks did last year and think he's a stud. They think he's a star, a borderline star. Could be the case. Just, like those are the things you got to ask yourself, because they've made they added more to the room without really getting in the way of either of those two guys either. I think that's at least a little bit interesting and worth noting.
I know. I think bringing back Mike Edwards, not on a big contract, but bringing back somebody that played a lot of snaps and is very familiar with what you're doing, at least adds pressure to both of those guys. It probably more Cook than Hicks, since Hicks is like a younger guy who they clearly seem to be clearing the path for. But like that adds a little bit of pressure to say you better be ready to take that step up too. Because like Edwards is a guy that, at least for the Chiefs, has proven he can play, big snaps in a game. Like when they needed him, he was able to step in and play big snaps. So I'm with you, and that this probably says they feel really good about one of Hicks and or Cook. But I also do think bringing in Mike Edwards, a guy they're familiar with, at least adds some pressure on their heels to make sure they're progressing. It's just crazy to me that they go from, we have to have Tyrann Mathieu. Like that's what Spagnuolo said he had to have. Then we go, okay, we've lost him. Now we have to have Justin Reed. He said he had to have Justin Reed, to, okay, Brian Cook and Jaden Hicks, you guys got this. It just seems like it's a pretty big shift. So they must, and maybe it just means that they love one of those guys. That's entirely possible. I'm not saying that's not a thing. It's just, I'm just kind of tracking. And then you can go back to New York Giants. It was Landon Collins. Like Spags had his guy at safety. That was very important to what they did. They must feel like they have that on this roster right now, or I feel like they would be going to get, Justin Simmons that's out there.
They had to have Jaden Hicks is what it was. That's the answer right there.
Quite possible.
That's going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
Can't sleeping on Shamari.